Today I want to talk about the first step in becoming a man. Now, that might seem really presumptuous for a relatively young guy. What I mean when I say the first step in becoming a man is not that I know what it means in its totality in the sense that I have arrived, but key lessons that I have learned along my journey, both as a husband, a father, professional. And today I just want to talk about the first and perhaps the most important lesson that you have to learn. And that is, in the best way that I can describe it in words that are more eloquent than I, is actually from a book I picked up recently called Extreme Ownership. And go ahead and hit that on Amazon. Jocko Willink and Leif Babin, retired Navy SEALs. Jocko led the most decorated special operations group in all of the Iraq War, right in the middle there of sustained and heavy combat in the battle for Ramadi. But the book, and I'm only a few chapters in, but what I've gathered thus far from this book, from another book that I had to read as part of kind of an onboarding process in a company I used to work for. It was called the Oz Principle. I don't remember the author's name there, but at the heart of it, it is number one to me. It is number one, don't be a victim and don't have a victim mentality. In other words, a lot of times a victim mentality will be that other things are, I should say, bad circumstances or unfortunate circumstances are the result of other people's fault. And if someone were to ask you, why is this situation the way it is, in kind of symptoms of a victim mentality, the first one there is you start making excuses. Maybe it's environmental, maybe it's people. Very seldom it's you say, I'm the problem. And candidly, this has been, and sometimes still continues to surface within me, quite an attitude of, well, so and so isn't doing their job the right way, or so and so is just difficult to work with, whether that's professionally, in the family life, in the community. And actually, that kind of response, it really is an indicator that I am not taking ownership of my own situations. And let me say very briefly, and hopefully for the only time, I'm very well aware that environmental situations arise that are 100% outside of our control. There's people that maybe work for us or that we work with that are they flat out don't do their job appropriately or just have a bad attitude. Or I know all those things exist, but extreme ownership and ownership taken personally and at the highest level means even though those things exist, you still can point a finger back at yourself and realize, well, this person didn't effectively do their job because there's something that I didn't communicate effectively enough. Now, of course, there might be a situation where they're flat out insubordinate or something like that. That's another story. I'm not talking about those scenarios. But I'm talking about this from the perspective of being a man. And this is not some bravado thing. This really isn't even a gender thing. I'm a male. I'm a man. So that's the angle I'm speaking from. But I would want to cultivate this attitude in my family members, my daughter and my son. I'd like my wife to have the same viewpoint, that we're not victims. And we're not victims of a boss. We're not victims of a certain kind of economic situation. There are things that are always within our control. Our attitude is always within our control. Our discipline is within our control. We own our discipline. We own how we communicate with others. We own how hard we work. These are things that cannot be taken from us in any kind of a way from some external force. And if you find yourself in family life as a husband, as a father, and if I look at my family life and I think, well, ABC isn't going the way I want it to go, well, who's to blame for that? I'm to blame for that. If I look at my job and the team and the teams that I work with, if they're not working effectively together, if they're not building products at the highest quality, meeting strategic objectives, whose fault is that? It's my fault. And so always having that kind of view that I own this and I need to always be examining myself from that perspective. I make mistakes all the time, and it is the viewpoint that, okay, something isn't working correctly. What can I do better to correct this situation? And I think that comes into play in every part of human life. Professionally, I mentioned some. In the family life, my wife opened this vlog saying that, we're deciding to homeschool our child, our oldest child. That doesn't mean we'll do that for the rest of our life. That doesn't mean that we are, taking full ownership. Doesn't mean that we're the only people that will teach our daughter. That's not what this is about. It's not kind of pushing off responsibility to someone else. If my daughter is having a difficulty in a particular subject in school or life experience, whatever it may be, it's our responsibility. It's her parents' responsibility. We're Christians. We have a desire to pursue Christ, the things that are important in the Christian life. Well, who is responsible for our child's spiritual upbringing? It's us. It's our parents. Now, there's going to be other influencers, and oftentimes the parents can't get through in a lot of ways. They can't pass on lessons they've learned, so other people, it's invaluable for other people to be involved in. But the attitude is not such that we're just pawning, so to speak, our kids off to a school or quote unquote Sunday school, whatever the case may be. So that's in the family life. So this is an ongoing lesson for me personally, that if I don't like the way something is, maybe it's my physical health. When my wife and I, we kind of look back at 2015, did a retrospective of what went wrong, what went right, what can we do to improve. The big thing that came out for me personally that was wrong was my physical health. The actual bullet point that I put in the Evernote was that I'm fat, immobile, and tired all the time. And you know what? That's 100% within my control, my physical health. Now, I'm, without kind of catastrophic situations, notwithstanding that, but kind of the day-to-day, that is within my control. And I need to not be a victim or have a victim mentality towards that. So I don't know if this little short video kind of fully captured the idea there, but this is something that really, really is kind of cancer is a too strong a word, but it plagues many people of my generation. A kind of attitude, well, the federal government is doing this, well, the Wall Street banks are doing this. It's always pointing outward to other situations, society, international situations. It always pointing the blame and making excuses other than saying, no, I own this. This is on me to solve the situation. It's on me to figure out what I can do to make this better, taking a proactive approach to solving the problem. So again, this has been in me actively for a number of years, most recently after picking up Jocko Willink and Leif Babin, I'm not sure how to pronounce his last name. Really recommended Extreme Ownership, How Navy SEALs Lead and Win. This isn't an advertisement for the book, but for the concept, the idea of taking extreme ownership in everything you do. And to me, that is the first and foremost principle or lesson and learned in how to be a proper man, how to be a proper human being in your family life, your spiritual life, in your work life, every aspect of your life needs for you, for myself, to take extreme ownership.